Touchdown, Tampa Bay! Fire the cannons! Hi, Bucks fans. You guys won the Super Bowl. I mean, this has probably got to be like the most, I don't know, exciting or happiest a team should be about a record prediction. I don't know, though, because really, it's not like you can improve from last year, so I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, it's not like they can improve from last year, and they know exactly that, so they just brought back every single person, because they know they can't improve.
All right, I'll just ask it straight away. Can this team go undefeated?
Yeah, yeah, their schedule sets them up to do that.
Okay.
I really do think they can. I mean, the division games against the Saints are going to be tough. They always are. I mean, look at last season. The Saints were not really the best, and they still smacked them down twice in the regular season, only to get smacked in the postseason. But their schedule really does set them up to have an undefeated season. Like, they're tough games kind of at the start of the season. After that, it's kind of easy sailing after like week 5.
Really? Week 5? Okay. I was going to push it back a little bit more, but yeah, I really think the last tail end of their season's really easy. Would you like to get us started going over what you thought of them last year?
Yeah. So for the Buccaneers, I mean, there's not really much I can say that already hasn't been said by every national media pundit. So I'm gonna just take a crack at, repeating some stuff, maybe throwing something original out there. I don't know. But the Buccaneers, they did have a shaky start to their 2021 or 2020. Geez, getting ahead of myself already. But yeah, Brady was still getting used to that offense. I believe Bruce Arians said that he didn't even know the full playbook until like week 10 or something like that. Very late in the season did Brady know actually all the plays that Bruce Arians could call. Uh, Even with that finishing 11-5 is impressive. The defense was solid all season except against New Orleans, those 2 games, which is just really funny to like look back at that defense, be like, geez, making Aaron Rodgers look human in his MVP campaign where he was just big FU campaign for the Packers there and made him look bad. The only game he really did look bad in. Uh, the talent around Brady is something to marvel at, something he's never had in his entire career, probably. Definitely, he's never had talent like this around him in his career. He's had Randy Moss at wide receiver, but never had a stacked wide receiving core like he does now in Tampa Bay. And if you're going to get a guy like Brady, who's older up there, is just trying to win Super Bowls, surround him and maximize the talent around him. The Buccaneers had that, and it was smart for him to sign there. And Bruce Arians is getting the most out of those guys. And with that, Bruce Arians is a great leader. Assembling a great coaching staff too. He's finding some guys like, who would have thought that Byron Leftwich would be as great of an offensive coordinator as he is? Just being compatible with Brady, conveying the language to him, uh, calling those plays in situations because Bruce Arians isn't the play caller. I think it's Byron Leftwich. He gave him that responsibility, and he does a great job at it. And also, Bruce Arians, awesome with the challenges this season. I think he was 100% on them. I think he was. I know at that Packers game, which was towards like mid-season, he was 3 for 3 at that point. I think he did carry it out. Maybe he went 5 for 6, but I think he did go 6 for 6 at the season with his challenges. So, great for the guy that we kind of make fun of as not knowing where he is sometimes, but really, really was a fun stat to see that he pulled that off because not a lot of coaches do that, especially when they just throw out some random challenges just to show the fan base, like, yeah, I'm not scared to challenge when it's like, dude, 8 plays in the game you could have challenged, but you challenged this one and it's terrible. Their linebacking core, one of the best in the NFL. I mean, of those two guys that are really the inside linebacker, off ball linebackers that they have, those 2 guys are in the top 10. Uh, just really not a team is close with the linebacker talent that they have to the Buccaneers. Uh, there's a big disparity in the carries that Ronald Jones had over Leonard Fournette during the season, and I just didn't recognize that while the season was actually going on. Going back and looking at these games, I'm like, okay, Rojo's getting some carries. Where's Leonard Fournette? Where's Leonard Fournette? Oh, Leonard Fournette had a 3-yard gain. and then Rojo's just carrying the ball for the rest of the game. I think it was like 4-1 or 3-1. Their carry ratio was, which is interesting, at least for me, because I thought it was way closer than that. I thought they were switching off every carry. At least that's what it looked like in the Super Bowl. But during the regular season, that was not the case. Uh, the offense spread the ball out a ton in the passing game. And this just goes with the weapons that Brady had. When you have guys like 1 through 4 in the wide receiving core that can consistently make plays and create separation, which every wide receiver in on the Buccaneers can do. They create awesome separation. And Mike Evans probably the worst at creating separation in that wide receiver room, but he makes up for it by going up and getting balls because that's what he's done his whole career. Making Jameis look good and getting him those 30 touchdowns when he went 30 for 30 2 years ago. They do lack a dynamic returner though. They have a great wide receiving core. They lack a dynamic returner, but I think they got one in the draft. I really do think they got one in the draft. So probably their only weakness, and they improved upon it. So can't hate on that. Their pass rush is crazy. A lot of veterans there, and they're supplementing some great youth into it too in the draft. Uh, just can't compliment it enough. OJ Howard got buried uh, in the tight end room. That's all I got.
Oh, okay. Just finish out with that OJ Howard got buried. So sad for OJ Howard. I wish he could get a little more work. No, yeah, it's true though. I mean, that is one of my points I have to say is that holy crap. I mean, the tight end depth is amazing on this team. That's not my first thing. My first thing is obviously about the Saints and that it's hard to believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints are the same two teams playing each other, like each of the three separate occasions they are playing against each other. It's really interesting. Brady's confidence in the pocket is absolutely amazing. The way he stands in there, which I don't know why, it just feels like there's no one else in the league that can do something like this. The aura he has when he's standing in the pocket of just like confidence radiating off of him is absolutely incredible, and it really feels like almost no one else in the league has that. It always feels like other guys may be a little like just a little ready to like move or evade or anything, and so he'll just be so confident the way he stands back there sometimes. It's absolutely amazing. I really like the all pewter uniforms, if that's what you want to call it. And the all white. I just love the look of having like one solid color all the way through the uniform. It looks good to me. From jersey to the bottom of the pant leg, at least, not the helmet changing, but yeah. The receiver depth is insane. Obviously, you already said that, and I wouldn't even say it stops at 4. I would say it's 1 through 5 with the kid they added in the offseason. Maybe now it's 1 through 6. Mike Evans is so solid. I can't imagine how obvious it would be if they force-fed him the ball and there wasn't like just 20 other guys you could throw the ball to on this team. Shaq Barrett's really hard to stop. This has got to be one of the most athletic off-ball linebacker tandems in the league, and I don't even think it's close, like you said. Why did Antoine Winfield get picked as late as he did last year? I'll never know, just because apparently people hate drafting safeties. Depth at every position. I mean, look at tight end, like you said. OJ Howard's the third guy. Like, what is the worst position group on this team? Defensive backs, even like they had a great year. Like the DBs had a great year, especially if you look like into the postseason and stuff. Love how Ronald Jones and Lenny work off of each other. It is very funny though that Ronald Jones was like, "Oh yeah, we'll use you all regular season," and then when the playoffs came, it was basically the opposite. It's like, yeah, for every 3 carries Lenny gets, you'll get 1. Man, I would feel so bad as Ronald Jones, but whatever. You're still getting paid a ton of money, so and you won a Super Bowl.
A ring's a ring.
You won a Super Bowl, so hopefully he's happy. I feel like JPP should have retired for a second time by now. Like, I swear he's been in the league so long that he's actually finished out 2 careers, because I don't remember a point where I was watching football and he wasn't in the league. He feels like he was always on that Giants D-line, and then I was like, oh, he's going to Tampa. Whenever he came to Tampa, I was like, oh, he's going to Tampa Bay for like the final few years of his career. And he's just still young enough to keep playing. I don't know why. He's like the one guy that I feel like should be way older than he is. The fact that Brady would still run QB sneaks in the regular season with a torn MCL is absolutely ridiculous. I can't imagine being like, oh yeah, let's run a QB sneak here. I'll get my body in there and see if I can twist my
Yeah.
leg up any worse. Scotty Miller, the most surprising deep threat in the NFL maybe ever. I mean, just look at him. Gronk is just fun. Oh yeah, and Chris Godwin is on the team too. I didn't mention that at all yet. I love Vita Vea just because he doesn't look anything like your average defensive tackle. You know, no gloves, no sleeves, nothing on his arms, no, no, nothing at all except luscious locks of hair flowing behind him. It's a great look for the big man. Um, Then I like the 98-yard touchdown run for Ronald Jones. It's like me and Madden playing defense. Just, well, I'm in position where I could force the other team to get a safety. Let's send everybody. And oh, shoot, now he's gone for a touchdown. It's rare that you actually see that in the NFL, though. How did JPP get more than one interception this season? I'll never know. While the comeback against Atlanta. And, oh, yeah, I forgot AB is also on the team because, that's just funny.
Yeah.
Like you can just go like, oh yeah, we can just add him right here at the tail end of the
Mhm.
season. Like, no biggie. Receivers really made some great plays against the Packers, including the tight ends in the playoff game. And basically all the credit to the defense for the Super Bowl, obviously. I mean, yeah, the offense put up 31 points, which is nice, but geez, they could have only scored 10 and won the game. That's incredible. Yeah, and if you want me to go straight into stats, I can.
Yeah, I'm in. You always cover everything I got, so.
Okay. Brady, 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 65.7 completion percentage. That completion percentage isn't that high. You know why? Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit, baby. Ronald Jones had 978 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground, and then obviously Leonard Fournette had his playoff games that sort of made up for his less than stellar regular season. But even in the regular season, he managed to score 6 rushing touchdowns, which was only 1 less than Ronald Jones, surprisingly. Mike Evans was the only 1,000-yard receiver on this team, but geez, could you care less with how much they got to spread the ball around and still feel successful? Also, he had 13 touchdown receptions, very impressive. Ryan Suckup was above 90% on field goals and extra points, but extra points was only like right above 90, which isn't great, but at the same time, the field goal percentage was good, so it was like a really weird in-between spot to be at. While Bradley Pinion was just average punting the ball. Carlton Davis had 4 interceptions and 18 passes defended. Seeing those numbers, I'm just like, geez, maybe I'm highly undervaluing Carlton Davis. I mean, like I said, the entire secondary was playing really solid at the end of last year, especially in the postseason. But wow, good job, Carlton Davis. Jason Pierre-Paul had 4 forced fumbles. Levante David had 3 forced fumbles. 9.5 sacks for JPP, 9 for Devin White, 8 for Shaq Barrett, 140 tackles for Devin White, 117 tackles for Levante David, 15 tackles for loss for White, 12 tackles for loss for Levante David, and 11 tackles for loss for Jason Pierre-Paul, with many more spread around between a ton of guys. They had so many tackles for loss last season. It's incredible. And I mean, you can understand why your defense has success if on first down the other team hands the ball off and you tackle them for a loss. That's not really setting you up too well. They had a ton of tackles for loss.
Yeah, it covers everything. I mean, I was going to highlight the tackles for loss as well. We can just move to their free agency now.
Go ahead. I can't wait to hear this long list from you.
For free agent gains, they signed Giovanni Bernard.
That's what I got too. Isn't it great?
Yep.
That's so exciting.
I mean, some other guys sprinkled in there too, but their contracts are not big. I also didn't really recognize their names, so I didn't think that they were that key to talk about. Just depth guys. For their losses, one of these guys is actually signed with another team. The other 2 have not signed anywhere yet. But Joe Haig signed with the Steelers, offensive line depth, which they addressed in the draft. So not really a loss there. And then Deon Buchanan and LaShawn McCoy have yet to sign with a team yet, so they may return, maybe not. I don't know.
Those are just fun guys to us. They literally are no names in terms of what they've actually done in the NFL in recent years. They've literally done nothing. So I mean, it's basically like they lost no one this offseason. It's absolutely ridiculous. Even in the trade department, they didn't even have any trades. So we can get to the draft. Tell me about Joe Tryon.
Joe Tryon, I mean, you were very high on him. He was like the only edge rusher that you really liked going into the draft.
Yeah, the
And
weird. Well, let me qualify that with the weird edge position that was somehow like linebackers, edge players, and defensive. Basically, they
yeah.
took all the good players from my list and made them either a linebacker or a defensive lineman. So I had like the word like I had no good edge guys from my edge class except him. He was still considered an edge somehow, and but I do say I do like him still. It was just that was a really weird classification we had there, but yes, I like him.
Yeah. Big thing with him is his strength. I mean, he bodies guys that are in front of him. Couple times they had him lined up over a guard and he just takes him to town. Uh, Tackles too. He has a bag full of moves. It's not just like most edge rushers where he's just blowing past guys, but he does have that speed aspect to him. He's the first and fastest to get to the quarterback from anyone on his D line, and he wins his one-on-ones almost every single time.
Yeah, so I just said what you said already, in that I was much higher on this guy than a lot of other people. He could split double teams really well. If you left him one on one on the edge, he was solid with his speed, and then he read and reacts well to things like screens. So I thought it was a good pick.
Their second round pick, they got a guy that you described as a red zone threat when we were talking about him, and he may be used that way for the Buccaneers, or at least we hope they do. The master of the Tebow jump pass, Kyle Trask.
I did say that, and I also said that the Buccaneers would pick a quarterback, either in the first round or a second round. I can't remember which. I think I may have said first round, but I should have realized that of the two quarterbacks that were like the consensus 6 and 7, I should have realized that they would go in state to the one that went to school in state rather than the one that didn't. So they get Kyle Trask, and as you said, if the typical red zone prototypical QB exists, sorry, just disgusting phrasing there, but if that exists, it is Kyle Trask. Because he's a big guy, he's decently mobile, like not insanely fast, but he also throws a great fade ball, and that's basically where the pluses are for him. And he kind of just does everything at a whatever level for in terms of other abilities. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
he's really interesting for them. If he gets that Jacoby Brissett role of just coming in for QB sneaks and gets like 10 rushing touchdowns this season, oh boy, that would be really entertaining. But I doubt that'll happen.
yeah, he's got A1 ball placement. Can make plays with his legs, and like we've been saying, he's a red zone threat.
Yeah. Robert Hainsey. Is a lineman. That's where we got to start. And I just like to say that wow, you get more line depth here. It's just really funny. It's just this is just what it's like when your whole roster's loaded, and literally every single time you're drafting, you're just putting icing on the cake.
hmm Listed as a tackle. I can see him getting moved all throughout the D line or offensive line. He played some guard in college. I think it was his freshman year I saw him playing guard with the tape because I just look at season or career highlights for college and had him playing inside and outside on the line. So great depth piece that can be moved all around.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the boy out of North Texas at the position that wow, you really wouldn't think this team needs. And if this doesn't prove that there always will be an obligatory wide receiver taken by nearly every team, no matter how loaded your receiver position is, I have no idea what does prove it. Because yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are adding to the receiver position with Jalen Darden. And I really like North Texas's uniforms. I don't know if they switched
Oh
them
yeah,
in the past few years, but they look so clean. I like those. He's very shifty, which I think is just kind of obvious. I didn't know him prior to this, but I'm guessing anybody that does know him, it's just so obvious. It's like his main trait is how shifty he is. Not ridiculously fast, but still fast. Just not
hmm
ridiculous. He's just amazingly agile. Like unlike not very many people are even like close to what he can do. And if I had to guess, I would say that Brady actually had some major input on this one, because otherwise, I don't think they would go receiver here. And even though you talk about him being a big guy in the return game. I'm just guessing that the Bucks probably are like, "Hey Brady, you won us a Super Bowl. Go out and get a guy you want." And he was just like, "Give me that one.
Yeah.
Give me Jalen
Yeah.
Garden."
But I do think he could help in the return game. Actually, give them a solid guy there because they were bouncing between a couple dudes for their task to return the ball. Very twitchy. I mean, the dude is all over the place. My favorite quote that I saw of his is making dudes miss is like me waking up and brushing my teeth in the morning. I just got to do it. So I love that. Love him as a player. He has some insane footwork too on his routes. Like he is making guys fall over before he even has the ball in his hands. So, uh, yeah, he's gonna be fun to watch. Just with that core already. I mean, 1 through 6, 5, however many receivers they have. Tampa Bay is loaded with weapons.
I hope he gets on the field. That's the only thing. That's
Yeah.
the only concern for me. Hopefully, he should be playing in the return game, like you say, because I do think he could be utilized there. I don't think you're wrong when you say that. I think that's absolutely correct. It's just so elusive, you know. KJ Britt, he feels like a very normal like linebacker from like a solid sized program. He comes from Auburn, and it's just like big school, like kind of a like obvious, like I said, a decent football program, and it's just like the most normal linebacker you've ever seen come out of one. Headed to the NFL to be a backup. He seems better against the run than the pass, but I mean, as I said, he's a normal linebacker, so that's what you would suspect. I don't know. This guy just feels like really, really like he may be set up for like I don't know 6 to 8 years in the league, just going from roster to roster, just being wherever. I don't know.
Like you said, he excels in run support. I mean, I didn't see a lot of him in pass coverage. Just really was hitting dudes hard in the open field, but it was all run plays that I saw him really getting there in and sent on blitzes, would body guards and centers when he would come across them. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to see some tape of him in pass coverage, but I watched like 3 or 4 videos and I found nothing of him dropping back to cover the pass.
Speaking of tape, Chris Wilcox, even though BYU is a well-known school, I swear every single one of these late-round BYU kids have nothing in terms of like anything you can actually watch and see any bit of how they played at BYU on YouTube. But the one thing I did see is that over a 5-year career at BYU, at the cornerback position, he managed to break up 8 passes. So,
Yeah.
no, I can't say what I watched was bad. I just thought that was a really funny stat because I mean, geez, he's breaking up 1 pass a year. I hope he really must be locking down a receiver if they're not even thrown his way.
Yeah, I had to go from YouTube to a different website. I believe its name was like College Football or CFB Players 24/7. Very sketchy website that I've never been on before to get 5 minutes of tape on him. And it was just for me to find out of, oh, he gets sent on blitzes and he's a tackling corner. And he's a corner that doesn't really play in the pass game. Like
He doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. I mean, got drafted.
What is going on? All right. Now the last guy though, Grant
Oh
Stewart.
Yeah. Mr. Irrelevant. Mr. Irrelevant.
But guess what? He, unlike Chris Wilcox, took matters into his own hands and he posted
his own.
Yeah, he posted his own highlight reel on YouTube. So that's nice. Solid read and react. Instincts wise, very quick. He also ran the ball a few times, which I guess we didn't say. That's weird because he was also playing linebacker, right? He was playing linebacker and running back, which it's like, oh, okay, that's funny.
Well, I watched his video. Well, hold on, I'll cover this first. Flies all over the field, reacts well, hits hard, brushes off blocks, takes great angles to the ball carrier. But he's an Iron Man. Played some running back. He also, in his early career, when he was first at Houston, played safety and cornerback. And also played running back. and then he got bigger, played some running back, moved to linebacker. That's awesome. So I hope Bruce Arians uses him in every single way possible. If you're gonna take a guy at Mr. Irrelevant, take a dude that plays 4 or 5 positions.
Yeah. Take a better version of Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, yeah. Isaiah Simmons plays every position on one side of the ball. Why not take a guy that can play every position one side of the ball and the other side of the ball?
Yeah. Then undrafted free agents. They actually got one guy worth mentioning. They got kicker from Miami, Jose Borregales. So maybe he's looking to steal Ryan Succop's job, just because the extra points weren't being made at an efficient enough level. But yeah. And then in terms of their schedule, their over under is 11.5 wins. I got to be honest. Once again, I guess the sports books just never want to put a team at too low of a win total or too high. Like, for whatever reason, it's like always, we gotta say that they're gonna win at least like 4.5 games, or we gotta say that they're gonna lose at least 4.5 games. And it's like, I really don't know if you need to do that, because who wouldn't bet? We haven't even talked about the schedule yet, but who wouldn't bet the over on this? But you can go ahead. You can respond to that and then get right into your schedule once you're done with that.
Yeah, I think the over-under's just, I mean, this is our very last prediction slash recap episode that we're doing here. This is our 32nd one. Every single over-under, I feel like there's been like 2 or 3 that have hit. And it's been like the teams that you and I both agree that would be like, yeah, like the Panthers one was perfect. And just teams that feel like are going to be very mediocre, middle of the road teams, that those hit. It's like, yeah, everyone kind of realizes that. But teams that are really good and really bad, like the Texans one, like it's, what was it, 4.5? Like, I'd be very incentivized to take the under on that. It just, same thing with the Chiefs and the Buccaneers here. Because the Chiefs was also 11.5 as well, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's very stupid. I mean, raise that up, Vegas. That's
like I said about the Texans, though. I agree
Texans
with you.
could surprise
Kansas City, yes, Kansas City and Tampa Bay. The Texans could surprise us and win 6 games this year. Still be awful, but they could shock the world and go out and pick up 6 W's.
Yeah, Tyrod's got something to prove. All right. For their schedule here in 2021, they're starting off home opener against Dallas, even though the Bills would have been great. Week 1, Bills game here would have been perfect, but the Cowboys just need to get every single national game that they can get. So we are delighted for this treat of the Cowboys just getting beat down by the reigning Super Bowl champs here. Tampa Bay is going to pick up that win. I think Dallas could do some stuff this season, but it's going to take him a couple games to get it together, and this is not a good litmus test for them. Like, a good test for them would probably be like the Titans, maybe. The Titans are going to be very good, but it's like Titans aren't like fully well-rounded. The defense is a little weaker. That would have been all right. The Buccaneers, it's going to... I don't want to say a massacre because, that could come back to bite me, but it's not going to be a pretty game for the Cowboys, I think. So Tampa Bay picks up week 1 win. Home against Atlanta week 2. I think that's also going to be a win. Atlanta's another team that I think could get it together towards the end of the season when they figure out how they're going to run this offense with Kyle Pitts in it. But this early in the season, I don't think they got it. And then another team that I think can get it together later in the season, maybe even like the week after this, be the real wake-up call for the Rams. But week 3, really their first challenge of the season, playing against the Buccaneers here at LA. I think the Buccaneers pick up the win against the Rams, but that would be the kick in the rear end for the Rams to really get it together and focus on the rest of the season. Not that they won't be, but, just a better team coming to you and beating you. Week 4 at New England, Brady's going back to his old stomping grounds. I don't think he's going to lose this one. I don't think he'll let himself lose this one. I also think the Buccaneers are a better team than the Patriots are, and we both are high on the Patriots. but Brady's not going to allow himself to lose to Belichick. There's no way. So I think that's going to be a win. Home against Miami. Tampa Bay's the better Florida team. Not big fans of Tua here. I think that's going to be a win. At Philadelphia.
You're just completely disregarding the fact that the Jags exist. I can't. I don't know if I'm okay with that, but I mean, I guess I'll agree with you.
But yeah, back to this at Philadelphia. Yep, that's gonna be a win.
Why is this a primetime game? I'm sorry. I just love looking and seeing like, what did they threw that on the schedule? Who's looking at the? They're like the Bucks need to play. It's a Thursday night.
Is it a Monday night game?
A Thursday.
It's a Thursday night game.
They're like,
so someone's gonna get a big lead in their fantasy game that week because Brady's gonna put up a bunch of points.
They're like the Bucks need to play at least two NFC East teams on prime time. Wait, no, they play Philadelphia. No, I'm wrong. They play Dallas in prime time. They play Philadelphia in prime time. I know they play New York in prime time. The only one I'm questioning is Washington. No, Washington.
The best game out of the four.
Yeah, the best team in the NFC East. And that's the one that isn't in prime time. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I suck. It's just this stuff makes me mad.
It's all good. I think it's stupid as well. Home against Chicago. Hopefully Justin Fields is starting at this point for the Bears. We both want him to be, but even if he is, I don't think he picks up the win here against the Buccaneers. I think this would be the really first tough game that he'd have if he becomes the starter at week 3 or at week 4. So little welcome to the NFL moment for Justin Fields as the Buccaneers pick up that win. At New Orleans, I think they'll split with New Orleans, but they pick up the first win at New Orleans. I think New Orleans will pull something out, fighting for their playoff lives late in the season, win at Tampa Bay. But right now they get the win. Going to the bye week, coming out of it, they got to face the team that gave them the most trouble out of any other team in the playoffs, in the Washington football team. The one problem is Taylor Heineke isn't going to be the starting quarterback. Maybe. At this point, it looks like it's going to be Fitzmagic. But I think the football team gets the win here. I think they can do it. It's two great defenses going head-to-head.
Wait, did you give the football team the win in this game in the football team prediction?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember that. Oh, this is a nice surprise, considering I forget stuff. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
But, it's going to be two great defenses going toe-to-toe here. The football team's defense really slowed Brady down, and it was just a matter of the wide receivers sabotaging the offense late in the game. And Washington really could have won it. Now, I don't think they're going to have that problem anymore with Diami Brown, Curtis Samuel, and Scary Terry there. I don't think they have the receiving court. What?
The fact that I've sold you so much on Diami Brown that he's the first one you said out of those three is just funny to me.
I said it first because of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But they are going to have receivers that will sabotage it, and if their quarterback is playing as A game, which Fitzpatrick, when he's playing as A game, Buccaneers fans know that 3-game stretch was magical. It's something to bewilder at. Same thing with Heineke. I mean, he was doing everything he could to win that game for him. I think they pick up an L here, their first L of the season against the football team. Then they go on a tear here. Home against the Giants, primetime game. I don't know why. The Giants have primetime games against the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. Why? That's so garbage. But that's a win. At Indy, with this new Carson Wentz news coming out, he could be playing at this point in the season. I don't know, but not very high on Indy. We like Indy. Their schedule is just terrible for them. Team is very set to succeed. It's just that schedule is bad.
Yeah, their Indianapolis is really helping our Titans prediction. We were strong on the Titans before the Titans got Julio. Then the Titans got Julio. And then the Colts lost their, like, only QB. That's ridiculous. We'll talk about it probably an episode either tomorrow or the following day. So watch out for that. Check that video out if you haven't. There. We're pushing more content even during the Bucs video.
Then at Atlanta, the game at Atlanta last season for the Buccaneers, there wasn't really much riding on that for them, but they just still smacked them. I mean, it was competitive there for a little bit, just smacked the Falcons, and I don't know if it'll be the same thing here. It'll be two good offenses going against each other, but I think it'll come down to which defense gets more stops, and that Atlanta defense is not stopping anything. So I think Buccaneers pick up a win here. Home against Buffalo. I think I'd have to think about this one if it was at Buffalo, but it's not. It's home. So giving the Bucs the win here. Home against New Orleans. If this wasn't a division game, I think I would just have them picking up a win here, but the division game, I have them splitting them with the Saints. I maybe it could be L at the Saints, W home. I just think it fits better this way for some reason. That the Saints would have it figured out this later, fighting for their playoff lives in the last 4 weeks of the season. Get scrappy, pull something out. And then these last 3 weeks, kind of a joke. Terrible for the Panthers. I don't know who decided that the Panthers would play the Buccaneers 2 times in the last 3 weeks of the season. But at Carolina, W. Carolina's a young team that could probably end up running the NFC South later in a couple years when Brady retires, but not now. Not now with how everything's looking. Maybe year 2 of the Sam Darnold experiment, it'll be different, or they just give up on it after 2021, but I don't think they'll be able to do it. And then at the Jets, I mean, Brady dominated the Jets when he was on the Patriots. He's going to dominate them now that he's on the Buccaneers, and not big Zach Wilson fans here either. And then home against the Panthers. I think, Blaine Gabbert's the most underrated player in the entire NFL. So I think even with him starting this game, he could still beat the Panthers, especially at home. So that gives the Buccaneers a 15-2 record for me.
Well, is Blaine Gabbert playing, or are they fighting?
Yeah, Blaine Gabbert's playing. Blaine Gabbert's playing in that game.
What are the Niners?
15-2. I mean, yeah. Well, even if Brady, I still have him winning that game. So.
Yeah. I mean, I just question it because I did.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. I should have thought about what the other NFC teams were before I just said that, but no, the 15-2 as well. So
that's fine. I mean, honestly, they've got so much depth that probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. As you said, they picked the worst matchup, but Dallas is a bigger market, so we lose. W to Tampa Bay, though. Yeah, no, they've got a defense Dallas doesn't yet. Keanu Neal, though, Keanu Neal.
The 11 linebacker set works. If Dallas can pull off the 11 linebacker set, it might be something to marvel.
I think teams really are starting to realize that it's probably better to just have 5 defensive backs on the field most downs rather than less. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. They just want to list Keanu Neal as a linebacker to say that they actually are running a 3-4 or a 4-3 or whatever they want to say. I don't care. They just want to do it so that they can act like they don't have 5 defensive backs on the field. Week 2 against Atlanta, yeah, they're significantly better roster. That should be a W. Week 3 at LA, good team on the road. This is a tough game for them, so that's going to be a toss-up. Week 4 at New England. Yeah, this game is going to be exciting. We are much higher on the Patriots than a lot of other people are. They're returning so much. They brought so much in. They still have probably the best coach of all time. And you're the one making the argument that there's no way Brady is going to lose to Belichick. Well, what about the other way? Because I would also think that there's no way Belichick is going to lose to Brady. So if both of them are clashing, that means it's an even matchup. So this one's a toss-up too. It's just because they got to head on the road, and New England isn't going to be a bad team. Week 5 against Miami. Yeah, no, sorry. W, Tampa Bay. Philadelphia. Yeah, this is still like one of the worst teams in the league playing one of the best teams in the league. W for Tampa Bay. Week 7 against Chicago. For whatever reason, I don't see this one going well. Probably because of the fact that they actually managed to screw up the Chicago game last year with the atrocious quarterback play that I saw from I can't even I think it was Nick Foles that night. I mean I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to the game. I wasn't watching it. I watched the final drive, but I was listening to most of the game. So I just remember like hearing what was happening and being like, this is disgusting. There's no way that them being at home this year against Chicago and with just the showing they put against Chicago last year, I don't feel like there's any way they lose that game. They may win that game big even if Justin Fields is playing. And you know that I'm a lot higher on that team if Justin Fields is in the game. Then they play at New Orleans on Halloween. This is interesting. I I don't know. New Orleans still lost a lot of guys. I like New Orleans, as I've said plenty of times. I like New Orleans a lot more if we're running the ball with Taysom Hill a ton. But even if they do that, this is not going to be an easy matchup to win. It makes it slightly more winnable if that's the case. But this would be, I'll say, this is the only matchup that I have as a straight up W for the Buccaneers that I really could look and say, okay, maybe I could have swung that to a toss up. Week 9, they have a bye. Week 10, once again, at the Washington football team. Once a playoff team on the road, and also an improved playoff team on the road who played them well last season. I have no reason to believe that Washington couldn't win this game. Therefore, it is a toss-up game for them. Week 11 against the Giants. The Giants are trash. W. Week 12, lower on the Colts than most people in Tampa Bay. Still Tampa Bay. Plus now, geez, what's going on with Carson Wentz? That really hurts him. W for Tampa Bay. Week 13 at Atlanta, same thing as I said before with Atlanta. I still think they're the better team, even if they go to Atlanta. That's a W. Week 14 against the Buffalo Bills. I am going to give our team a slight amount of credit here. We are at least talented enough that if Josh Allen wants to go crazy on the day and do something wild, he can do enough by himself that we could go out and win this game. But the thing is that the Buccaneers roster is still a lot deeper than us. It should be a win for the Buccaneers, but it's going to be a toss-up just because I want an even split of toss-ups here. And as you'll see with the rest of these games, Week 15 against New Orleans, again, this one's at home this time. I think they figured New Orleans... I mean, not only did New Orleans get significantly worse, they also had 3 games last season to figure them out. It really felt like the third game they finally turned the tide, obviously. And I don't see any reason to think that they would backtrack from where they were. W against New Orleans. At Carolina, Week 16, much better than Carolina. W at New York Jets, the week of the 17th. That's a W as well. Week 18, they finish out with Carolina again, this time at home. That's another W. So, this is the only team in the NFL that I did not give a direct loss to. I gave them 4 toss-up games. I think they'll lose 2 of them. And this roster is still loaded. I mean, they basically had no losses this offseason, and it felt like the troubles from last season that made them lose 5 games was just the fact that they were getting like used to each other. I don't think that they'll have any trouble being used to each other after winning last year's Super Bowl. So now that they're on the hot track, I don't see any reason that they can't go 15-2, which is what I'm predicting for them. The only thing I'll say is that we do have Tom Brady at quarterback, which everybody were going to say that, oh man, he just can't break down no matter how old he gets. Yeah, I don't think he'll drop off a cliff like just the whole season, but he could have 4 down weeks. They could lose 4 games because he has 4 bad weeks, and it's much easier for that to occur now than it was like say 5 or 6 years ago for him, where it felt like yeah, he's not gonna have bad game. No, he can have bad games now. He's definitely old enough that he can have a few bad games, and that could drop him to like 4 losses. But I mean, geez, they're still gonna win 13 games, and they're still gonna be above that 11.5 win mark. I have to imagine. I mean, even if the only thing that would make me think about that 11.5 win mark is if they started week 1 without Tom Brady. Like, we knew we were going 18 weeks of Blaine Gabbert. And even then, still, the roster's solid enough that they could pick up 12 wins. So even then, it's not like a safe bet one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're easily going to outperform that. And the only thing that'll hold them back is if Brady's age catches up to him a few times this season. And even then, I mean, that's not a big deal. If they go 13-4,
Yeah.
it's all about what happens in each game in the playoffs. And even though I could see Brady having down weeks in the regular season, I don't see down weeks from Brady occurring too often in the postseason. And I mean, geez, actually, one of them did happen last year for like one of the first times ever we saw a down week from Brady in the postseason. That was in the NFC Championship game. And guess what? Everybody else on the team picked it up for him because this roster's that good.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Brady is kind of allowed to have bad weeks because of the talent around him. It's not like it was in New England 5, 6 years ago, where if he did have a bad game, not that he did, but if he did ever have a bad game, the Patriots would lose if Brady had a bad game. Now it's he could be off like 5, 6, 7 throws, and it would still not be the end of that game. That very obvious in the NFC Championship game. The talent allows Brady to play like his age, I'd say.
Yeah. Just going back and counting up like the games that they play where it's like, like how, like even if they played like crap, are they still a significantly better team than the other team? Like even if they played to like their lowest of lows, and it's like they would still, even if they played absolutely like atrociously for who they are every week, they would still have a winning record. Like they would still be 9-8 because it's just like
Oh yeah.
the team's too loaded. Even if they played absolutely miserably all season, they would have a winning record.
Yeah, the schedule helps with that too. I mean, they're playing the NFC East. Their division is pretty weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can play like crap the entire season, but just the talent level on that team, that it would not allow them to lose less than 9. Like they would not have a losing record.
Yep. Alrighty. You all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.